what's up? It's Wick for Wikimedia Tutorials, and today I'm going to walk you through the Gliss EQ by Voxengo. Right here on the top you can see I can name the instance, and I've already named this guitar. If I click on it, I get this drop down menu with even a keyboard, and I've already named that. I'll show you later what that can be helpful for. Beside that, I can change the oversampling which happens in this plugin, and I've set that to the highest, and that allows us to work at a higher sample rate in this plugin, so it basically will EQ a lot more accurate, so it can be seen as the quality of the plugin. Beside that, I've got a bypass switch which allows me to bypass the whole effect of this plugin, so it's basically doing nothing. In the row below that, I've got some presets which I can load. Here I've got an undo switch, which allows me to undo my latest actions, like changing the sample rate, which I've just done. And then here, besides that, I've got even a whole drop-down list of the latest actions that I've performed within this plugin. Then I've got an A-B switch, which actually allows me to switch between two different EQ curves. So I've actually got two different instances of the same EQ, so I can A-B compare that. So here on the A1 I can do a little bit of a different curve than on the B1, and I can compare that, see what I like better. Well, I like B better, and I want to tweak it a little bit while keeping this one intact. Then I can actually copy B to A right here with this switch. So now A is an identical copy, and I can change that a little bit, see if I like this change a little bit better, and then B is still intact. I can reset my whole curve here with this reset switch, but be aware that it also resets my oversampling. So here you can see if I reset it, this also drops down back to 1, so be aware of that as well. Then I can change my routing. This is some complex stuff, because normally it's on stereo, but I can actually do some surround or even mid-side stereo processing. I'm going to keep it on stereo for today. Beside that, I've got a settings switch, and if I click on that, I've got a whole settings menu. It even allows me to change the color scheme of the plugin. I'll just keep that on the original, and I can even zoom in and scale up the user interface. I can even change the hold time of the meters, so a lot of interesting stuff that I can change from within this plugin. In the row below that, you can see I've got some of these EQ instance settings, and this allows me to accurately see only 3 dB of gain. So the top of my gain now is only 3 dB, and if I go to the 30 dB, which is a lot, you can see how precise that I can work when I'm just in that 3 dB zoom. So I personally like to have it at 3 or 6, so you can do some of these really precise EQ curves like that. So I can change the underlay color, you can see that right here. I'm not going to go into that right now. Then I've got the dynamics. I'll show you that later when I'm going to look at the different curves, but this allows me to change the behavior of the dynamics. And here with this static drop down, we can actually load up a static snapshot of the frequency content of maybe a mix or something else that you want to match your EQ curve to. So that can be quite helpful. You can load a couple of them, and you can turn them on or off right there, and you can take a snapshot whenever your song is playing by using that take button right there. So then we've got these areas, again something quite insane, but it can be really helpful, especially when you're new to EQing. I can zoom in on that stuff right here. You can see here the fundamental frequencies for guitar and vocals, a lot of the fundamental frequencies for vocals right there, and you can actually create your own. I've created this one, and you can edit them. You can add more bands like so, and then you can select the frequency region from where you want these to go. You give them a name, etc., and there you go. You can turn it off with this switch right there. We can invert the curve that we've created here. Again, something that I haven't seen before, so quite a cool idea. Not sure if it's useful for a lot of stuff, but you know, you never know. Then we've got a reset. This resets the curve, and then we've got presets. Resets and presets. We can save presets and load presets through here. Let's dive into the EQ itself. You've already seen me drag these dots around, so you can kind of imagine how this works. These parameters right here correspond to the activated dot. So whenever we want to select a frequency band, these are the connected parameters. So we can either move the frequency around right here. I think we can even dial in the frequency if we want to. And then we can do the same with the bandwidth, which is this parameter right here. The gain and the cut as well. And then the dynamics, and that's something I'm gonna explain right now. The Gliss EQ is not a standard type of EQ. It actually looks at the dynamic content and the energy of the signal which is already there. Imagine we're going to be adding 3 dB. I can actually dial that in if I want to. We're adding 3 decibels to our signal right here. And we've got this dynamic on 100, then it's going to look at the energy which is already there. So if there's a lot of energy already in this frequency region, it's going to boost this signal a lot less. And you can see that indicated with this red curve. So if we're going to use less of that dynamic, we get a curve in between right there. So then it will maybe only boost 2 dB. So we can use this in a pretty flexible way, so we don't overdo the equalization on certain frequencies, and only when there's not so much energy it will add it. So this can be quite helpful. If we don't want it, we can, for example, put this all the way down to 0. That way it's always using that curve. Or we can use a different type of equalization curve. The outer curve, normally when we select it per default, is a low shelving, and the outer one is a high shelving per default. But we can change that by clicking this type button right here, and then we get the whole drop down of types that we can choose from. You can see it's a pretty large list. We've got this peaking one, which was the one that we've just saw. It's a bell one, and it's per default using these dynamics. And then we've got the inverted, and that's just inverting the dynamics. So that's behaving exactly the opposite way. Then we've got the peaking plane, and this behaves like a regular parametric EQ would do. And you can see that because even the dynamics has been grayed out in this peaking one. Then we've got the low shelving, the high shelving, the low pass with this 12 dB per octave slope. Then we've got the one with the 24 dB per octave slope. And again, we've got that with a high pass as well. Then we've got a notch filter, and then we've got 4 notch filters. I need to make this bandwidth a little bit smaller, then you can see it. Now these are really small notches. And this is like a comp filter. And then we've got that with 8 as well. And then we also have 4 peakings, 8 peakings, a band pass, which can be really cool to do these simple telephone type of effects. A low pass with only a 6 dB per octave slope, and again also with a high pass. So you can see there's so many different types of bands available. So here I've got a couple of tracks. I'm just gonna solo the bass and the guitar, which are 3 tracks in total, but the guitar is a stereo track, so I've routed both of the outputs to a group track, so I'm processing them both. And on this group track I've got an instance of Gliss EQ, so that's just for the guitars. And here I go to this spectrum section, and whenever I play it, I'll just play the guitar itself. The hold switch right there allows us to hold the spectrum, so we get a graph of what's played right there whenever we pressed hold. We can change the color of the spectrum that we're seeing right here, etc. But the cool thing is that we can export this to a slot right here. So I'm going to select 1. And on the bass track, I've already imported or inserted this copy of Gliss EQ as well, and I've sent that to 2. So now I'm going to this instance right here, and then I'm saying import from bass. So now I'm going to go to this part where the bass line actually plays right here. And I'm going to go to my Gliss EQ. You can actually see the frequency content of the bass, which is on the other channel. So this can be a really helpful tool, because you can see we can have 3 of these different imports. So we could do that with the vocal as well, and maybe with, I don't know, a violin. So we can match and see the frequency content of all these other different instruments. If I go to the edit, I can actually change this and make this into a filled display. This makes it a lot more visible if you like that. And we can even say that we disable the spectrum at all. Now we only see the one which is being imported. We turn that off. We have no spectrum at all. So this makes it a really powerful tool, especially this feature. I really like that. You could see there's quite some overlapping frequencies from the guitar right here, so we can remove some of this output here. This is an output gain, Then we've got the meter, as you already saw it probably while we were playing. That basically concludes this whole overview of the Gliss EQ, which was quite a long run, but I hope you've enjoyed it, because I'm quite amazed about how complex and how many different features this plugin has. You can find the Gliss EQ on the Voxengo website, voxengo.com, and you should be checking that out. I'm also putting the Gliss EQ in a session where I'm using it, so you should check out that video real soon here on my channel. And if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching. Peace!